we move directly to our next panel discussion, which will put the focus on redefining retail across India through D2C innovations. It's my privilege and pleasure to welcome on stage our panelists. Please put your hands together for the co-founder, Conscious Mithaiwala. Please welcome Arihant Jain. He is co-founder Hello Modern Luxury Gear. Please welcome Minat Umargekar. He is co-founder, Chief Executive Officer, Fiona Diamonds. Please welcome Parag Agarwal. She is co-founder, Ishika. Please welcome Vanchur. He is co-founder, Bohiko. Let's make some noise for Yash Kotak. And he's brand director, Neostep. Let's raise a cheer for Rishi Agarwal. And ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our most distinguished moderator, Chief Experience Officer, RexEmptor Consult LLP. Please welcome Siju Narayan. And it's over to Mr. Siju Narayan and this wonderful panel.
Thank you, Hugo. Good evening. Good evening. How many people do we have here in this room? Can we all come ahead, please? Arey yaar, aakhri session hai. Please aa jao yaar. Please. It's a sincere request from me. Thank you so much. This is a lovely audience. There are some guys who still think they are in school and, kind of sitting in the last row. Please come over. By the time those strategic discussions out there will also get over. Sorry? You want incentive? What do you want?
Coupons, vouchers.
Vouchers from these brands. See, he's already said that. Wonderful. So, this is the last session of the day. And I would request everyone to settle down. What a warning is when these folks were there in the speakers lounge, and when I walked in, they said, "Headmaster aa gaye." Okay? Now, I take that as a positive. So, if you want me to act, if there are people who want me to act like a headmaster, I can do that. No, jokes apart. So, the last session of the day, the last session of ReTechCon 2024, and the 7 of us are standing or sitting and standing here firmly between you and traffic. This is a much better place to be in. Okay, so I know I'm kind of bumping up the average age of this stage, but I think you will give me that leeway. Now, just to spruce things up, can we ask the audience some questions? Okay. Okay. What do you think is common to meat and diamonds? Thank you, Hugo. Hugo knows me that I can't be at a place for a long time. What's common to meat and diamonds? That's the wrong question. Yeah? Yeah?
Blood.
No? Okay, I'll tell you the answer that I want to hear. Both can be lab grown? Yeah? Please mind it, huh? It's not just some random observation I'm making.
The lab grown meat is still not meat. Lab grown diamond is still a diamond.
See, I knew he would jump in. and you'll find out the reason why, right? Okay, now, what's common to, now this is my favorite. What's common to yarn, nutrition, medicine, and building material? This is a tough one here. KBC का question में भी नहीं आएगा because उतना पैसा नहीं है किसी के पास ये देने के लिए. What's common to yarn, nutrition, medicine, building material? One more comment from the panel and ensure that they give you discount vouchers here. Okay, let me make it a little bit more easier. What would you call the coconut of the Himalayas? And this is original, huh? I'm patting my back. What would you call the coconut of the Himalayas? Yash, what would you call the coconut of the Himalayas?
I'd call it cannabis.
Cannabis.
Yeah. It is that.
Cannabis, hemp. And you'll realize when Yash takes us through his journey, you'll realize as to how every part of that plant is of use. More like the coconut, right? A place like me, Biju, we all come from that state. And this is a question that I also need an answer to. While in how many ways do you think a stretch fabric can be stretched? How many ways do you think a stretch fabric can be stretched? 2 ways? 4 ways. Who said 4? Biju. Right? So, discount coupon for him. So that's cheating. That's insider information. That's insider trading. Yes, absolutely. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for playing with me on this as we get into this introductions to the last and final session. And in this, we have a set of wonderful, wonderful brave hearts on stage. And we will be discussing in terms of how do you redefine retail across India through D2C innovations. The focus will be on innovation. And what we will try and get from them is nuggets from their personal journeys, right? No gyan, no Googleable gyan, right? Because that anyways we can do. But it's all in terms of, what is it that you've gone through in your journey as an entrepreneur, building your, substantially brilliant businesses over a period of time. And we will also touch upon as to what should members of the audience not do if they want to venture into a business. Fair? So with that, let's start. And again, just so that we refresh as to who these gentlemen are and lady is. Arihant Jain, founder, conscious Mithaiwala. He says he's a halwai, right? Sorry? I call myself lean halwai. He looks lean as well, and he's living proof of that. Ninad, who is co-founder of Hello Modern Luxury Gear, and he will tell you as to what that luxury gear is all about. Parag, who is a co-founder and CEO of Fiona Diamonds. Then we have Vani, who is a co-founder of Dicheka, which is a very, very interesting 14 brand, right? Under 25, innerwear and period wear brand, right? And then we have the man from the Himalayas, Yash, who is co-founder of Boheco, which stands for Bombay Hemp Company. Is he part of your team? No. Okay. Well done. See, but whatever happens in Texas stays in Texas, so don't worry. And then finally we have Rishi, who is with Neo Stretch, part of the Donier family, and he will explain as to why his line of fabrics is something very comfortable to slip into. Right. So without much further ado, let me ask, and like it happens with all my panel discussions, it's an open house, right? So you can jump in, ask questions whenever you want. You don't agree with some of the things that they say, vociferously disagree. Don't get too violent. Yeah. Now, all of you represent what is known in this world as D2C, right? A D2C category. Now, a quick input from each of you. What does D2C actually mean? Yeah, it's on.
Just ensuring a direct connect to the customers, and thanks to the internet, it has become way more easier than traditionally making a distribution network through the retail segments.
So taking out the distribution network, connecting directly to the consumer.
Yeah.
Ninad.
Yeah, more or less the same. Initially, we all were wondering D2C means no media. I come from the advertising background, so media was very much a part of my life. We thought no media, but you still have to spend that much money on media. But the most beautiful part of D2C is getting to hear the consumers directly, getting to see them, see what they're doing directly, and getting that data without paying for the data. Otherwise, you would have to commission research. So for me, D2C is that understanding the consumer firsthand is the most important part.
So reaching the consumer directly and listening from the consumer directly. Anyone else has a different point of view?
I think D2C is all about building a very strong community. So in that community, you should know how to keep engaged, keep your customers engaged, and having a strong retention program. So that's what you keep building on.
So the C stands for community, and I'm sure Vani agrees with this vociferously.
Yeah, so I would call it, it's essentially a person. You're no longer a brand, you're a person. It's something with a personality. That's how you engage with the consumer. And that is something you'll see with most D2C brands these days. They have founders' faces also. So you're not just those old grey brands who were there where people were buying. This is a direct connect. The customer knows who you are. The customer sees you as a person. That is how they find you relatable.
When we edit this, please take out that word called old. Huh? No, just kidding. But what she says is so very important because that brings in that extent of personalization, right? That personal touch. Wonderful.
In fact, you took my word, personalization was what I was going with, but more than personalization, I think D2C gives you an opportunity to be hyper-personalized, only because it's not only about that direct connect, it's taking those insights and taking that feedback real time and making those incremental changes in order to really kind of come up with solutions, which in a large format becomes, because it's so structured, etc., becomes very tough to do, but because you're getting real time insights day in, day out, you can hyper-personalize the entire channel.
So you're saying you can cut the flap and respond to a situation much more faster in your kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Okay. Rishi, is there a point of view?
I would say consumer-centric approach of business is D2C. So all the points that all my panelists have covered are segments to it. But I would say any business that is very consumer-centric thinks about the consumer first, the business second, and tries to solve for that day in, day out using data, personalization, or any other things is a D2C brand for me.
Perfect. And staying with you, Rishi, very quickly, right, in terms of when did you start your business? Why did you start your business? And whether it's online, offline only, or omni-channel. Very quickly.
So the idea was planted in 2016. We'll be launching our online stores in January 25 and our offline stores in February 25. Why this time? Because we wanted to be very sure on what we want to do and we wanted to get the right fit to the market. So we spent our good quality time there and that is how we are going ahead with it. What do we want to do? In a small sentence, I would like to call it, we would like to make men's apparels more versatile, more adaptable, more comfortable.
Okay.
Right. So at Bombay Hemp Company, or BOHICO, which is the acronym, we're India's foremost industrial hemp and medical cannabis company that's vertically integrated, which means we have a direct control on the entire supply chain from research to retail. So we cultivate our own cannabis, we do our own clinical trials, we have our own GMP grade facility, we have our own clinics and stores, and our own doctor network. So in terms of consumer touch points, yes, while D2C is our primary focus, we also have our own clinics and stores in Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bombay, and we work with over 500 doctors who regularly prescribe our medicines to different stakeholders. Why did we start? For us, cannabis is a means to an end, the end being agriculture. We started back in the year 2013. We were very passionate co-founders from college. When we were in college, I'm talking about 2011, when we were 21 years old, we realized that agriculture, and we were always taught that is the backbone of our country. 60% of our workforce is employed in agriculture, but its contribution to the GDP back then was less than 15%. Now that didn't make any sense, so many people employed, but it's not contributing significantly. So we realized what the problems are, and one of the biggest problems were a lot of migration. People weren't looking at agriculture, and there were more, for lack of a better word, sexy industries like apps, social media agencies. The digital world was taking over, and we thought agriculture was being neglected. So can we come up with a solution which is, again, lack of a better word, sexy enough for people to stay, look at it, and that's why we started Bombay Hemp Company. We saw cannabis was growing wildly across the northern region. but it was like water everywhere, but not a single drop to drink, right? And we realized if a resource is there so abundantly available, it is being used for subsistence use, then can we do something? So that's how we started to transition cannabis from dope to hope. And yeah, that's where we are.
Okay. And Vani, what was the purpose?
So we started in 2019. We're an innerwear brand for young women under 25 mostly. We started because we saw that this is the largest demographic in India, but completely underserved. Nobody was really looking at them as a demographic. It was a one-size-fits-all approach. Even when you went out online and looked for products in 2019 for youth or for girls, you would only find. Thank you so much. You will only find products made for women, not made for the changing body types of teenagers and for young women, and not following the aesthetic. So we thought there was a genuine market gap, and we came in to fit into that.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got a very interesting story. Being category innovators in the lab-grown diamond space, the journey began pretty much early in 2004 when early in the days we met certain scientists who were trying to grow diamonds in the lab. So having an engineering background, we got too fascinated and discovered the why very soon, because we were looking at natural diamonds being sold at exorbitant price, which they are being sold even now. Our problem was not the diamonds, but the investment story which was told to the consumers along with diamonds, which was the fight. So we thought we can build and we can create beautiful jewelry pieces at 1/10 the price, which is sustainable, economical, affordable, and yet caters to all HNIs. So whenever anyone used to ask, what problem are you trying to solve? I used to say, I'm solving first world problems. We are having secrets to keep your wife happy. Get her bigger and better diamonds, so happy life is a happy wife.
Okay. And while the wife is old, but the category is new. Okay. But because I'm going to come back to the new category creation part of it.
Absolutely.
Because something very interesting happened about 3-4 days back. And there was also a conversation in that session just after lunch when they were talking about category creation and category creators, right? I have a different view on that. I'll come to that later. Yes, sir. Ninad, so what was the purpose behind the brand?
We started Hello in thinking about it in 2020. I'm a watch enthusiast and a watch collector. I was part of many watch collecting communities in India globally, and I used to realize that you don't get great watch straps in India. So I started ordering from abroad, people who'd handcraft them, and I would get them imported in India, pay import duties and all that nonsense. That's when I realized that maybe it looks small, but if you look at it, every wrist that wears a watch is an opportunity, and you don't get great watch straps in India. So the thinking began in 2021. We officially launched the brand, launched the Instagram page, launched the company. It's been 3-4 years of a great ride. Last year, we started our D2C business. And as I started researching more about this, I realized that, watch straps is only one category. Right now, it's our hero product. We also have wallets and sunglass cases, and we are exploring a lot more. But this segment called EDC, which is everyday carry, especially for men, in popular parlance is called, you call it accessories, but it's called EDC, which is everyday things that you carry on yourself every day, which are stylish as well as functional at the same time. That's really our vision. And we are actually doing category creation, because you spoke about it, especially from a watch strap point of view. We are really aggressively trying to build the category here.
And watch strap, just focusing on watch strap, while I know wallets and eyewear cases are always there, but watch strap as an industry has also been pretty unorganized, right? I mean, except for the big ones.
Totally, there are no big ones.
I mean, for example,
if you ask anybody in this room, if you say watch straps, which brand comes to your mind? There's no brand that comes to your mind.
So when Titan sells one.
Yeah, but they are all stock straps that they make in lakhs and millions of numbers, which is brown color, black color. It's the same design. You go on our website, you will see the kind of magic that we are doing. We make watch straps in khadi. We are the first brand in India to make watch straps in khadi, pure khadi. I plan to talk to Yash. Probably we could do a hemp watch strap with him in collaborations.
Wonderful. I mean, I hope it's only to wear.
Through the skin, something might happen.
I know. Now that's an interesting category, that he talked about, because when it comes to watch straps, how many of you have changed watch straps in your life? Okay, and I'll tell you, and probably you can also appreciate what I'm trying to say here. The reason why I would find it difficult to replace a watch strap is because I'll have to take it to a watch guy to do it. But now you have the snap-ons.
Yeah, so we have something called quick release, which is becoming an industry standard.
Right.
Once you change that strap, once you put our strap on, then you don't have to go to anybody.
Yeah. Right. So I think that makes it easy. So you are actually massively bringing down the barrier, and I'm sure everyone would love to have differing watch brand. I mean, watch colors and watch type. I mean, and the band types and so on and so forth. Excellent. Coming to you, sir. When did you start it, and why did you start it?
So, to start with the why, I would like to ask how many of
Closer.
how many of us sitting on the stage is a diabetic or a person in the family has diabetes? Family has? Family? Anybody in the family? You are close to it.
Yeah, we are all borderline. Yeah.
Right? So 4 people out of 6, right? So that's what speaks about key 66% people on this stage has a family member who is a diabetic. That speaks about the volume of the issue. So why we started is because because the market is too huge, but the issue doesn't get resolved. So all these diabetic people, we as a human have a tendency, if we are asked not to do something, we would like to do it more. So diabetic people, they would want more sweets, right? More chocolates. So that's the problem we are trying to solve. So we started with the first Indian sugar-free sweet stores and healthy farsan outlet in India, which caters to all your classic Indian sweets from your rasgulla, jalebi to your pedas and the kaju katli. And that is one thing we are doing. And except
1 second. When he said sugar-free jalebi, what's the first thing that came to your mind?
it's impossible.
नहीं बनेगा. Taste नहीं आएगा. What else? Did someone say, go, wow, so tasty? No? No.
So I'll tell you, so this is the biggest issue, right? Whenever we talk about anything healthy, the first perception is swad nahi hoga, right? And how do you do that? So instead of starting directly a D2C brand, we started with a retail outlet so that the consumers can come, interact, understand the product and build in the trust, right? So a lot of the people come and they say ki sugar-free jalebi, it's an impossible product to be made. But when they try it, they realize, oh my God, it can taste exactly the same. That's what we are doing. Like if I do a Pepsi, Coca-Cola blind test kind of a thing, you will not be able to realize. So that's the confidence we have on a product. And thankfully, given that our first outlet was in Juhu, we were able to cater to the most premium of these Bollywood celebrities, these health freakness people. And within a span of 10 months, we realized a great potential in this market. Except that we have been into the chocolate business from last 4 years, right? So I'm doing this along with my partner. So we understand the market, we understand there's a huge demand because kitna hi ho jaye, right? On the day of the Diwali, you do not want Pandit ji to give you chocolate as a prasad, right? It always has to be sweets.
So do you sell online as well?
So for the sweets, we are getting the technology to sell it online. The biggest issue is the shelf life. So we are working on technology to get our Indian sweets online.
Yeah.
We are selling other products online, but not the sweets.
Yeah, I think the golden rule here is if something goes bad in 2 to 3 days, then you can be rest assured that it's pure, right?
Yeah.
It's not adulterated or kind of propped up. Which kind of gets me to the next question to all of you, and you can all choose to answer. As to did you folks do a proper market study before getting into this, or did you go with half data, half gut, or was it 100% gut? Anyone can start.
So actually we started with a very detailed survey across schools. We've also been to colleges. to understand what the market wants.
So you did it yourself or you used an agency?
We did a combination. So with an agency, we went into schools. Colleges, we also started getting invites. We did barter deals. We went to colleges, spoke to them. The biggest thing we realized was when we were trying to make this product, we were told, and we went to a lot of shops also, and a lot of these things we also did ourselves. We were told कि लड़कियों के लिए जरूरत क्या है दूसरा ब्रा बनाने की, बन तो रहा है छोटे साइज में ले लो. Nobody was willing to actually think कि if it's a 11-year-old girl, like my daughter says, मैं baby नहीं हूँ, मैं lady भी नहीं हूँ. So 11, 12-year-old girl, her body type is very different from a 16-year-old one. But nobody was willing to think of them because it's a challenging market. So we went, we researched, we found out what is it that they do not get. For example, we found out if period panties were being offered to them, why would they use it? What kind of pattern would they want? What is the problem that is not being solved? If they are going to buy bras from the market, what is the problem that they are facing? Is it that the bras are not in their size? Is it that they're not comfortable? Is it the elastic problem? So we did all of that, and we had a consulting gynecologist on board with us. So we did a lot of research before we even launched our first product in terms of the kind of pattern that we wanted, the aesthetic that we wanted, and the kind of sizing that we wanted to do.
Yeah, and I guess also there's a fairly decent amount of impact on health per se when it comes to improper innerwear, right?
Health ke saath saath body image. It is how you're feeling. There's so many women sitting here. It's how you're feeling inside. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you're constantly itchy, and it's going to show in your body language. And as you know, when you're younger, when you're just in your teens, I'm 42 now. When I was a teenager, I did not get the right bra. I wasn't told that this is the right fit for me. We learned that it is uncomfortable, that a bra is supposed to be uncomfortable. It's only over the years that women realize what is comfortable for them. So yeah, that impacts your body image, that impacts your confidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I add?
Sure.
Right. So again, because when we started out back in 2013, there was not even a...
You guys can hear.
Okay, sorry. I think this is better. When we started back in 2013, there was not even a single individual or an enterprise that was working with cannabis. It was completely uncharted and it was a blank slate, right? I categorically remember, so our first 3 years went a lot into science, R&D and policy development. But in 2016, we did our very first survey, right, where we were about to launch a clothing brand called B Label, where we were launching a range of hemp garments. I categorically remember this one question where we had asked people, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when we say cannabis clothing? Hand to my heart, 8 out of 10 people had written, it's a Bob Marley t-shirt, right? That was the cliche that existed. Anyway, we launched the products based on the survey. In 2019 or 2020, when we were rebranding ourselves, we did the same survey, right? Just to see, has the needle on the education and the awareness moved at all? And that same question, when we asked, there was the first thing that comes to your mind when we say cannabis clothing. 7 out of 10 people wrote it's a breathable fabric, it's a lightweight fabric. That's when we realized that, okay, for us, and that's when the Bohiko's mission also came through, which was educate, cultivate, elevate. Educate was the first thing because people had to unlearn and relearn. And where in the start we were launching products and we were just banking on the cannabis hype value that people will purchase the products, we very quickly shifted to finding our consumer first, understanding their problems, and then launching products. That made a massive shift, and when we did that in a health and wellness brand, it became the fastest growing brand within all our verticals in no time, right? So I do think that yes, sometimes that josh mein hosh kho baithna happens with an entrepreneur, but very quickly, if you don't use data, if you don't use insights from real people, because I may feel this may work, but the market works in very different ways. And only once the market responds in a certain way, you must change and adapt to that. Otherwise, you will fail miserably.
And what was the sample size in your survey?
So the first survey that we did back in the day was about 100 people. But when we did the 2019-20 survey, it was about 500 odd people that did. So sample size grew.
And that was good enough for you to give the confidence that you could start
It's
this
a
off.
good starting point, and we didn't have the kind of monies to kind of do elaborate surveys, etc.
Sure.
And we, of course, we would not go to friends and family because that bias we wanted to completely omit. But we went to real people, asked them these questions. We went to colleges, we went to and colleges there where people are studying medicine, right? Not just any college, where they're studying fashion, right? Because these are the future of these industries and they would make decisions when they grow. So we went to these colleges and we did these surveys.
Okay. I understand why you didn't go to friends and family. The secrets get out. Yeah. Anyone else?
So about the feedback loop, what you were saying is so true, and you can just test your product always with testing, actually showing it to the consumer. So many times it happens that you theoretically talk about your product and you will land up into some kind of debates if it's a new category. So that's what it happens, right? And people ask questions, so is it possible? So that happened with us when we came out with lab grown diamond jewelry. The biggest resistance and the argument was ये नकली है. तो असली नकली के पॉइंटर से निकालने के लिए we had to give the product in hand. When I say product, for us lab grown is not a product. A bracelet, a ring, a earring is a product for a woman. So while we were trying to identify the TG, the product is so deceptive that first thing, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Who will buy these diamonds which are not natural? What is it that you would think? The rich people, middle class who cannot afford diamonds, what would you think? Correct? Everyone would naturally think, अच्छा जो हीरा afford नहीं कर सकता है, वो ये खरीदेगा. What if I tell you it's exactly the other way around? And you know why? So we discovered that when we used to bring these products to people who are affluent and who already own a lot of diamonds, they used to love it because the first reaction used to be, अच्छा ये कितना 2 कैरेट का, मैंने तो 15 लाख का लिया था, आप तो 1 लाख में ही दे रहे हो. Wow. On the other hand, people who could not afford diamonds, when we showed it to them, लाख रुपए का और हीरा नहीं है. You understand the reaction? So that's how our thesis started to build. We identified a customer profile and then we started showing ourselves up in these 5 stars and pop-ups where these HNIs would be there. And because our ticket sizes are high, we are relatively cheaper, not cheap. So we are giving you something, an experience of a 25 lakhs bracelet for 2 lakhs, a 5 lakh rupee ring for 50,000. So then we started categorizing these segments into managers, CXOs, professionals, and HNIs, and different product category and pricing would appeal to them. So which happened again with constant loop of feedback.
Sure. Anyone else wants to contribute? Yeah.
So I believe your question was market research before launch. So I would have a different take than the others. I would say yes, market research and everything is very important, but at least on the launch phase of it, it is more on the gut feeling of it and that leap of faith. As Yash beautifully said, if you go ahead and ask people what is a hemp t-shirt, 8 out of 10 people, as he said, is a Bob Marley t-shirt, because they're not able to imagine what you are able to see, what you're wanting to put out into the market. So if you take that first leap of faith, and then if you have the product to show to the market and or to the consumer, and when you start that feedback loop is when it gets better. But if pre-launch you go out, do n number of market study and market research, and you say, okay, what if I do this? If the person who's responding to that market research is not able to understand what the question is or what the solution that you are trying to provide, if they are not able to envision that, the output is anyways is going to be very gray, right? So how do you draw any analysis from that? If they are not able to see what you can see, how do you gauge any results on their answers? So I believe, yes, it is important, only if the question is very crystal clear and the answer to it is definitive, yes, no, or something like that. But other than that, I believe it's a lot with the leap of faith that a founder takes to launch the brand, and later then the market research and feedbacks and everything comes in for me, I believe.
Now that's an interesting perspective. Now how many in the audience would go in for market research? All are brave hearts? All leap of faith and the net will appear? Okay, let's do this one more time. How many in favor of a market research before launching a product? And how many would just take a leap of faith because, yes, I believe this is the product? Sorry? You took a leap of faith. We will definitely have you speak about it towards the end of it. Right? So now there are obviously two categories, right? In terms of it could be a mix. It's not that, and it's always going to be a purebred market research, free of bias, because market research could have bias creeping in. Now, Ninad, when you launched or got into this category, you said you are a category creator. I mean, it's a kind of a category creation activity of yours. What gave you the confidence that this is something that I need to get into?
The confidence that I believe in it. As I said, every brand tries to build a community. We were born inside a community, right? So the years and years of watching watch collectors, watch enthusiasts, interact with watches and what are the requirements. We used to do meetups regularly even before I launched the brand.
Okay.
So I had first-hand knowledge. So that was I had tons of data
So
in that sense.
these were targeted focus groups or?
No.
these were
I'm
informal?
saying when I'm a watch collector myself. I used to be part of so many collector groups,
Okay.
and we are on Facebook pages, we are on Instagram, and we do meetups. So that years and years of interacting with them told me that this is something that needs to be done. Nobody's doing it. And whoever is present in India, or the straps that you get on Amazon, those are just traders who are buying in bulk from China and selling it here by just putting their brand name. There is no brand, there is no design, nothing. So that told me that, there definitely seems to be a market here for it. So in a sense, I did market research, but no formal market research.
formal.
It was just my eyes and ears and my interaction with the community.
And you felt there was a latent need for this kind of a product to be brought in?
100%. But before I got into it, before I launched it, I did my research to understand how big is the radius of this. If the core is watch strap, what else can we get into and where all can we stretch the brand? So I did a lot of industry research on that, and that told me that men's accessories and men's everyday carry is definitely something which can become big.
Sounds good. Now, once you've launched and, as you've gotten into 1 quarter, 2 quarters of business, how important is data and how do you use data in your everyday life? Quick nuggets on that.
I think it's a standard answer to that with data is, for us at least, so we are an omni-channel brand, the best way is the top funnel, mid funnel and the low funnel. And just observing and studying your conversion ratios. So when it happens, when we do one type of campaign where, let's say we get 500 leads, so my instruction and the argument and the fight with the team always is, because they get lethargic, we call 10 customers and they were looking for this, how many spams all of us receive through Meta and Google ads, but still, you still need to find your conversion ratio, that when do you get that one customer after talking to 100 people or 500 people? And I think that's the only way to do it. And of course, if you, after even talking to 100 people, you don't get any conversions, then you need to change your strategies.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'll add to that a little. What I'll say is, in the first quarter or the second quarter, any brand that has their database is technically very small, right? So before you launch a brand, you have defined your TG, the persona for the TG, what they do, what they don't do, and all of that. But once you are out there, you would realize you are either right, you are either wrong. And if you are wrong, you can quickly course correct yourself and move to a different TG. And why do I talk about moving to a different TG is the content that you create and the targeting that you do for all these people are different. So if I want to reach out to a HNI client, the kind of content and the kind of places that I will show myself is going to be supremely different. While if I want to be a brand that caters to the masses, it is going to be completely different. So in the initial 1 or 2 quarters, what I feel being omni-channel present is I would look at who are the people who are coming in. Do they fit in with the TG that I defined before starting? Or is there a course shift which is required for us? Okay. And if we keep a keen eye on that, I believe the route is much faster and better.
Okay.
So I would say, what questions are you looking at data to answer depending on your scale? So for example, when you're at a very small scale, then perhaps your marketing questions data will not be able to answer because the sample size is going to be very small. But the questions that data can answer is, are you profitable? Are you on the right path of profitability? Is your unit economics right? Because I have seen, we've made those mistakes ourselves, where you're selling, especially when you're selling a lot of SKUs, right? Your ASP is small and the number of SKUs that you're selling is large. In that case, it is very common to make the mistake that you're selling and you think, I'm making profit, especially in a D2C brand when you're selling on marketplaces. That, I'm making so much profit, okay, fine. Wow, I did like 50, 40 lakhs of sales and this is great. At the end of the day, you're making nothing. At that point, that is the question that you will need to ask data. Am I profitable at every SKU level? What my unit economics are? Then you go to the marketing questions.
I think that's a very valid point, and I'll come back to one aspect of it later, especially the profitability part. Yes.
So there's an old saying ki business ke 1000 din. So I firmly believe when we start something, right? So in the first quarter, 2 quarter, we should just sit and believe in what we thought as the initial thought process and the market. Because in the start, when we don't see sales, we think about changing our strategy completely. Instead of thinking if we have already done a lot of research to come up with this business model. So business ke 1000 din, the thought process says ki sit tight, wait for some time, maybe after few months, maybe an year, you sit, analyze, and then work on your strategies. Otherwise, it's too soon to change your strategy or make a big move, right? Because you're still learning about your businesses.
So let me counter that, Rina. Do you agree with him? Do you think it'll be too late to change, and you would have already, crafted an impression on the minds of people?
So in our business, we look at data very differently. We are a brand first. Everything starts, the business is driven by the brand. The brand is not driven by the business. So we have a brand narrative. The brand narrative, the target audience is defined very clearly. The target audience, the way we define it, is the modern man. And what does the modern man want to do? The modern man wants to create an impression without being too much in your face. Hence, a lot of our understanding of data is based purely on what products are selling, which colors are being sold, because we want the business to be driven completely by the imagery of the brand and the imagery of the product. Hence, at this stage, because there is tons of data, you got to figure out which data you want to focus on. You can focus on conversion data, how many visits you have, which is important. But for us, our aim and our aspiration is to become a luxury fashion brand. For that purpose, we look at data purely from how are people interacting with us as design, with the designs. That's the data, and we let the data decide our product development, decide innovation in the product, and all of that. So that's primarily 90% of our efforts going focusing on that.
I'll latch on to one word that you said, innovation. But before that, data belongs to that category, of troublesome elements in our life, whose motto is, if you can't convince, confuse, right? Because that's what data can do, right? If you really are not careful, then you will go helter-skelter as far as data is concerned. Now I'm coming back to innovation. Sticking with you, what is the innovation that you're so proud of? And more importantly, how do you message it to your TG?
So for us, innovation is more about perfection in wearability. So let's say when we launched the Khadi strap, it was important to understand how does the, sorry. Yeah. So for us, it was important to understand what material does the khadi, because you can't just make a strap out of fabric, right? Especially a fabric that it may not be as stable, as leather. Leather is very stable. Khadi is not stable. So we needed to understand, and we did a lot of experimentation, a lot of iterations with, okay, if the top has to be khadi, what's the best lining for khadi? What's the best, how do you sandwich the khadi and the leather with it, and what do you do with it? What should be the ideal thickness so that, there are no folds on the fabric when people wear it? So a lot of iteration went into that, and we are very proud of what we created with that. So that's, to answer your question.
So is that a well-kept secret, or do your customers know about it?
Customers don't care as long as the wearability is great and as long as it looks fantastic. It gives them a conversation point. People ask, wow, this is a khadi strap. Where did you get it from? So customers don't really care what went inside it because it's too technical for them. They would want to know where we source the khadi fabric from, and we actually went to the Khadi Gramodok store outside, which is just a little away from CST railway station. We went there, we handpicked the fabric, we chose the colors, and we took it to the manufacturer to make it. And we sat with the manufacturer across all those rounds of iterations.
Okay, Rishi, in your business, I'll come back to you. Yash, Rishi, in your business, there is innovation, right? How do you communicate that in a convincing manner to your TG?
I believe you don't convey innovation to the consumer, but the pain points that you're solving for them, and that is what innovation is. So even if I go back centuries, it is what problem are you solving is the innovation that you're doing. So if I'm very well able to address the pain points that I'm solving for the consumer in the right way for my brand, I am doing the work, and that is how I'm conveying my innovation to the consumer. As you rightly said, the consumer does not care how it was done. They all care about is it done and is it actually done. They would want to try it, and if you're solving a problem for them, that's as good as an innovation.
Yeah, and if the pain is mitigated, all the better. Yes, Yash.
Yeah, well, from at least from our point of view, when we started out, the understanding was that India is a country that goes from 1 to 100 very well, right? But the 0 to 1 aspect that is always, which is super critical for new age companies to kind of break through the clutter and innovate, became extremely important. Like for example, the cannabis that we were working with when we started out was all sourced from the jungles. It was all wild. To educate the farmers that, that it's like the cat family, while this is the tiger, this is the cat, from breaking that down and helping them understand why a project like seed breeding was important. For example, the basmati rice that all of us eat was bred over 9 years, and then we have this variety called the basmati rice, right? Now, for us, the problems were only so many that we had to be ahead of the curve and think of innovation at every step. While of course we would educate different stakeholders differently, like the farmer would understand a very different language than a doctor would, right? So for doctors, we started doing clinical trials, right? A clinical trial, so we have a clinical trial going on with the Tata Memorial Center on breast cancer, right? Before we started the clinical trial, doctors would just not take to cannabis because they thought, oh, it's plant-based, it has no merit, it's a snake oil treatment, all kinds of words were thrown at us. When we did the trial and we saw the QOL, the quality of life score, go up, where cancer patients were eating better, they were sleeping better, their mood was better, and it was conjectured to their existing line of treatment. It wasn't replacing anything. When they saw that through data that someone going through chemotherapy actually started eating a one meal and then started picking up, they start seeing their inflammation scores go down. Suddenly they're like, oh wow, we had no idea. So of course there is a very famous saying that if the peacock's dancing in the forest, people in the city will never know, right? So if you're doing your innovation, it's extremely critical that you show it, you showcase it in a structured, easy to comprehend manner, and that just changes the game for anyone that's taking to your brand.
Sure, fair enough. Now, do you cater to tier 1 cities only, or tier 1 plus tier 2, or tier 1 plus tier 2 plus tier 3? Who does all? All of you? Now, when it comes to that, how different are local attributes when you reach out to these consumers? Anyone? Yeah.
So as we call it, India is the land of diversities. Yeah. So every few kilometers, the language changes, the culture changes, the food changes, and so does the the choice for fashion or clothing changes. So if anyone comes up and says, okay, you can make something one fits all for India, no chance. So technically you need to know what's working, what's not working, and that is where I believe data comes in very well. If you realize that, okay, this particular SKU is performing well in this area, you push more content of that area there, you start performance marketing there immediately. If you have a store there, you increase the stock for that SKU that you have in that store, and that is how you work. So no, you cannot make one size fits all for India, and you have to constantly keep working, and no one can actually even say that, okay, I got the pulse of this. You can get a pulse of a couple of areas, but then you cannot say, okay, I know the pulse of India and I can make everything for them.
So does that translate into a difference in fabric or a difference in the type of SKUs?
So it varies. So like if you go to the north, people would like a fabric which is more thicker, right? So the mental thought that they have is a thicker fabric would last longer, right? While you go into the south, because of the tropical region, they would like fabric which is lighter. So both the areas are different, but generally now with modernization coming into picture, social media, education, fabric more or less remains the same, but their styling, the colors that they like, the kind of design that they want on their garments changes a lot, and you got to change your SKUs accordingly.
And that flows into your strategy?
Has to.
So I'll add some very interesting our own experience with it more than anything else. So to bring total India together, we go first by, like I said in the start, community building is the most important thing. And LTV in our case is very high since it's jewelry. And be it from tier 1, 2, 3, what is common to bring everyone together, especially in a country like India? It's deal hunting. Especially when you talk about selling it online, everybody is a deal hunter. And that's one way to bring shoppers together. Doesn't matter tier 1, 2, 3 say. So we got this idea of auction, where we started with a test of our own customers on a WhatsApp group, where we were choosing 5 products daily and putting it on auction. For example, a ring is for 50,000, we would start the bidding from 1,000. Whoever bids the highest would win the ring. So gamification is the thing. Gamification is something we thought should bring Indians together. क्योंकि क्रिकेट हो गई, सबको कैंडी क्रश खेलना है और कुछ ना कुछ वे से एंगेज रहना, वो कोई भी टीयर से हो, tier 1, 2, 3. So that went so well. In a week, we were able to scale from 20 people in that WhatsApp group to 1,000. We ultimately made a auction platform on a website where every day now there are 10 products which go on sale. We don't even mind if we are selling them on loss, but it's such a strong community that people wait for auctions, then they call our people that, oh, can you put this product on auction? So it gives a good feedback loop where we are engaging the entire community. They keep having the feeling that they're winning products. कि लूट लिया हमने brand को. So that's the best thing, I think.
And now he again touched upon an aspect that is probably common to quite a few of you, and that's community. So how important is community building and engagement for your individual businesses?
Very important, especially for somebody like us. We are doing something that's intimate wear. And we are trying to build trust, and we are essentially catering to 2 sets of audience. So one is when we are selling innerwear for a 10 to 15-year-old girl, we are catering to the mother because she's the primary buyer. But for a 16 plus woman, we are actually catering to her directly, 16 plus to under 25. So for us, that community building, one aspect has to be with the mother, where we have to build trust. And that sort of community building has to be with a 16 plus woman who needs to feel that we are relatable, that we understand her. So we do that. We have something called Ask Dr. Garima Anything, where we have this feature on the website. There's a gynecologist available, and we get all sorts of questions from women, from young girls, from 22-year-olds, and we lead them to the gynecologist, and she sends the answers back. The advantage is it gives them an anonymity where they can ask anything which they can't ask at home, and they get answers from a reliable source. So that has helped us a lot with community building.
Sure, thank you. And we could go on and on, but I think there is obviously a limit in time. Any questions for the folks here? Any questions? No? I think everybody wants to go get home. But that's fantastic. Okay, now the one thing that I want to touch upon in terms of category creation. You heard of Tupperware? Yes. What happened to Tupperware? It's a classic case study in category creation. The problem there was, and that's where I loved when you said the brand. The brand is the most important one. Tupperware became a generic name. Tupperware as a brand could not establish itself. There were folks who did not know that Tupperware was a brand. They thought Tupperware was a synonym for kitchen appliances, kitchen storage containers. Right? So, folks out here, yeah.
If I may,
Please.
I think, my observation about this whole wave of Indian startups and everything is that we are too obsessed with product and, data that you get on Shopify, conversion, and we are too obsessed with transactions. If you look at the history of India, and if you look at the history of the greatest economies in the world, most of those greatest economies, except China, have been built on the back of brands. Yep. America, great brands. Japan, great brands. Germany, great brands. They chose their specialization. Japan chose engineering and automobile industry. Germany chose that. Japan chose, efficiency. Europe chose luxury, but they all built brands that the entire world consumes. I think we are all too obsessed with make in India, make a brand in India that the world will buy. Doesn't matter where you manufacture it.
But still,
Doesn't matter.
But still,
build a brand, find a great brand narrative is when the world will respect you and the world will buy you. I think that is a trick that is being missed by most of the startups. And if we do that, then we are unstoppable.
But still, Ninad, I think product really comes before brand. You have to build a brand around the product.
It does. I'm not
Otherwise,
saying
the brand will fail.
No, I'm not saying at the cost of the product. In fact, we are living in the golden era of product. There is no era where so much focus on the product was there. But I think we are forgetting that the brand, you have to invest in the brand. If you don't invest in the brand, all the investment that you're making today will be transactional, and the consumer will go for somebody else if he finds a better product.
Absolutely. And I guess finally what the equation that it turns out to is product plus innovation is equal to brand.
Yeah.
Right? Or product plus innovation plus commitment is equal to brand. So with that note, here's to brands from India and Bharat. Until next ReTechCon, thank you so much. Thank you so much, folks, for spending time with us.